So I found the conference, I think one of the most exciting things about it is actually just seeing people again. Being in the room with people, having those chance encounters, those chance conversations, those what I like to describe as the coffee conversations, those opportunities to talk to people between the sessions. The sessions are great, but talking to people between the sessions is invaluable. And a lot of people who I've seen in a 7x3 screen are finally there in front of me, and I can have those opportunistic chances to talk to them. And ideas which I've been working on, thinking about over the last few weeks and months, I've now had the chance to talk to people about it, but also talk to them about the things they've heard in the various sessions and said, so what was your view on that? And getting that immediate feedback, which you don't necessarily get through Teams or Zoom or whatever you're on. So that chance to actually connect on a personal level has been brilliant. I'll come clean. Citizen involvement, PPI engagement is not something which I do on a day-to-day basis. So the opportunity to learn about that, for instance, the last session I was in, understanding we were given different case studies, different parameters for different research, and we had to think through what the challenges of PPI were with that, when the public and patients should be involved in the research design. And that was incredibly enlightening. I found that very useful to think through what the issues were. So that side of it was really interesting. I found the keynote fascinating as well, with Michael Marmot giving a broad overview of what the issues around health inequality were. The fact that we're in quite a depressing state at the moment, but that there are opportunities for hope and future growth away from where we are at the moment. I think that's heartening, and certainly the panel session that I was involved in did give me hope that different people, different agencies, different members of the community could work together to address some of those very depressing statistics that Marmot suggested. Research doesn't happen without collaborations. Traditionally, perhaps in some disciplines, there was this idea that you have this lone scholar, this genius, this lone genius, this person who can come up with this eureka moment, but that was only ever a myth, really, that even the lone genius depends on a team of people. And in this day and age, it's very unlikely that any one person will have all of the answers. Collaborating together, particularly collaborations across disciplines, interdisciplinary collaborations, are essential for pushing forward the boundaries of knowledge. It's something that the funders have all recognised, and that researchers too recognise, not only cross-disciplinary collaborations, but cross-sectorial collaborations, getting people outside of what can often be the bubble of universities, to get people such as we found today, citizens, to engage and input into the research and actually help to inform and design the research. So I think collaboration is important, to get a diversity of views and opinions, but certainly what Eastern Arc does in bringing together a broad geographic range of voices to feed into a research project, a research design, is really helpful for making it more meaningful. And I think that what collaboration can also do is bring the best parts of a number of different people, different agencies, different viewpoints to bear on a particular issue. And I think that's incredibly beneficial in the long run. But I think it's important to ensure that research is robust, that it is robust and relevant to the people who will potentially be benefiting or using the research at the end of the day. One of the speakers this morning Kevin Daniels from UEA, talked about the issue of fixing and leaving, of kind of going into a particular community, suggesting a solution, and then moving on. And it's so important that citizens, that communities don't feel that they are almost being experimented on, that they are part of the solution, that they co-create with the researchers, with the academics, the solutions to whatever the issues are. They can bring a huge diversity of views and can bring to bear ideas, viewpoints that perhaps the academics, the researchers themselves haven't thought about. We had an example in the workshop I was in this afternoon, where someone who described himself as a member of the public said that in the design of a particular project he was involved in, the researcher had come forward and said, yeah, we're hoping to do 25 interviews in this geographic area, and he, as someone who lived in the area, say, you know, given the roadworks or given the type of community you're trying to engage with, you'll be lucky to get kind of 5 or 6 interviews within that area. And so that intelligence and that knowledge that people outside of academia can bring to bear on a research project, I think is invaluable. So it's beneficial to the researcher, but it's also beneficial to the communities who can, in time, benefit from the research itself. Health and social care perhaps is where it's most prevalent, or it's been in place for longer, but I think it's relevant. You can see its relevance to a huge diversity of different disciplines, whether that be psychology, whether that be, you know, diet and nutrition, whether that be things like art and history, involving local historical groups in what's known as citizen science. I think that's valuable, and you get more. You were able to do more by involving more people in that, and actually getting people on board and understanding what's happening in the universities as well, not seeing them as these institutions that are on the edge of town and for which the local community has nothing to do with. Actually involving them in the research is really valuable to them and valuable to the researcher as well. The takeaway from the conference is just the value, as I've spoken about, of getting together and exchanging those views and ideas in a very positive and creative environment, which is essentially what Eastern Arc is all about. It's exploring ways of working and not saying everyone has to work in this particular discipline or it can just be academics, but actually opening it up and thinking about how we, as 3 universities, can be a catalyst for people working together, but not being too prescriptive about how that happens. So we can get technicians working together, for instance, thinking about how we share equipment, thinking about how we can engage with issues of coastal deprivation, for instance, because the Eastern Arc area has 800 miles of coast to it, with a huge number of individual towns and communities along that way, and they all have issues which are very specific to their area, but are shared along that coast. And if we share that learning, then it can be incredibly powerful. Other areas such as food research, the breadbasket and the Garden of England, of which we're all part, is responsible for a huge amount of food production and distribution. And actually harnessing the knowledge on either side of the Thames about what works, what the issues are, and engaging researchers and stakeholders in that is incredibly powerful. So my take home from the conference is the value of talking to each other and thinking about how research isn't just about the people working in the universities. Research is happening out there. Research is all about the citizens, the stakeholders, the businesses, the NHS trust, the community members, and so forth. It certainly doesn't stop at the doors of the university.